Caleb, once again, pretty limited time on the training ground in between games. So for you as a coaching staff, what were just sort of the primary objectives with the time you did have on the field this week?
Yeah, mostly rest and recover. Obviously analyze the opponent for sure, like we always do. Most of our preps in the film room, showing them, Montreal and the ways that we can, hopefully find moments to hurt them, and obviously the things we need to be aware of. It's another game. You can't look at the table to determine the level of the game. They're actually a very good team in the attack. Vrioni and Owusu are a handful, and they do some interesting things with the ball to try to disorganize you, some rotations. So we got to be mindful of that. And then, we got to look at obviously how we can, create goals, score goals. We've talked about all those things, but mostly, it's about recovery. And I like that we stay in a rhythm, right? So that's good. We're disappointed in the way the game ended, so we have a chance now 2 days later to make up for it. It's been a very long stretch. When I looked at the start of the year and when the schedule came out, 10 of 15 on the road, 8 of the last 10, and 6 out of the last 7 on the road. So it's a brutal stretch. And I thought to myself, if we can survive this, we're gonna be good the rest of the year. And here we are. It's not been perfect. We've dropped some points, but we've gotten points. And these guys are grinding. I couldn't be more happy with their mentality and how hard they're working, how much they're fighting. These guys are giving everything. And we're one game away from now having a pretty light June and 3 home games.
Yeah, with as gritty as the group has been and as much of that sort of grit as they've shown, how important is that, especially Saturday night in Montreal at the end of a stretch like this, to kind of grind through that last game before you do, like you said, have a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah, if you're really hungry, then you don't get tired. So we have to stay hungry, because when your mentality's strong and focused on winning and our goals, then the fatigue, mental and physical, doesn't come into your mind. So our group's hungry. So I'm real confident that we're going to turn around and give a good performance on Saturday.
You knew this week there was going to be some level of rotation with so many games, especially through this stretch. We saw some changes on the back line midweek. Just how have you felt about guys who've been able to step into some of those roles in particular and continue being as resolute as the group has been?
Yeah, it's always a balance. Rotation with certain guys, but maintaining continuity, because we don't have any prep on the training pitch. So if you over-rotate, then you're putting out a group that's never played together. And with little to no prep, that's never a good thing. So, we rotated 2 guys and maintained continuity, and, it'll be similar to this game. We'll rotate a couple guys and maintain continuity.
And I know with Ghana playing up top next to Tomas, that's a little bit different in terms of playing up top alongside Leo. How do you feel like Ghana has sort of been able to shift a little bit in terms of his responsibilities with Tomas as opposed to Leo?
Yeah, good. There's a lot of freedom in those front 3 guys. Montreal's a team that looks to match you and man mark you, so it's important that we use our movement and combination play to hopefully move them around in a way where we can create big chances. But we're going to be in a lot of 1v1s, so it's going to be important that we use those 1v1s to our advantage.
I know a guy who's pretty good in those situations as well. And you've talked about sparks off the bench. Luis Diaz has provided a spark pretty consistently recently. What kind of weapon has he been late in games to run at teams?
Yeah, he's one of the fastest guys in the league, and as the game, kind of opens up, which it typically does late in games, he's a handful to deal with, whether you're, up a goal or down a goal. So, he provides that penetration, for us. And, with Peyton, he provides that. Eli at times, Ganago at times. Last game, he definitely opened the game up for us. Unfortunate to not finish, especially that last one. Would have been a nice end to win the game. But in the end, sometimes you don't win, and if you don't win, then don't lose. And that's why we've been so hard to beat. But this one, hopefully we can close it out and and get the 3 points. But it's going to be a difficult game. We have respect for Montreal, and they're one of these teams, man, that when you start to look at them, you see a better team than maybe the standings indicate.
Tanner, while the team's been able to secure a lot of points on the road, you've been able to get that 1 point, going 4 ties in the last 4 games. What do you think you guys are going to do this weekend to secure those extra 2 points going into Montreal?
Yeah, obviously it's been a busy week in terms of games, so we need to arrive with the right attitude, right mentality, ready to play from the get-go. That'll be a big piece of it. It's just our work rate, our effort, how we approach the game, and then just doing what we've been doing, being resolute defensively, and that's a team thing. Approaching that the right way, and then once we get on the ball, getting the ball to our really dynamic and creative attacking players and trying to create chances, because it's always tough on the road. It's always going to be tough no matter who it is.
And speaking about that mentality, now this is your 3rd game in a week. How do you and your teammates stay mentally fit going into Montreal?
Yeah, obviously there's plenty of things you can do physically to try to get yourself turned around to play again, and then mentally you just have to kind of get yourself up for the game. It's always going to, it can be difficult if you let it, but we like to play. We're here to play, and so I think as long as we arrive with the right mentality and are excited about playing and hungry to go compete for points, we'll be just fine in terms of that side of things.
And the team remains one of the best defensive teams in the league. What do you think about the defensive performance recently, and also the ability of some of those depth pieces to come in off the bench and help the back line?
Yeah, we've got plenty of people that can contribute, and that's a number of different positions. So we're definitely anyone that can slot into our team and help, and that's a credit to the staff and the players and how everyone approaches every day. People are always training to be ready to play. And I think we've shown that in the last 4 or 5 games, and even maybe further back than that. So yeah, it's just about everyone being ready on the day to help, whether that's from the start or off the bench to try to get points on the road here.
You're one of several guys who, when it is a matter of last-ditch defending, seems pretty comfortable throwing your body in front of shots, doing whatever it takes to block shots, block crosses. Like, is there a little bit of that sort of whatever it takes mentality in terms of defending from this group?
Yeah, I think you have to have that. If you want to be a good side defensively, you have to understand that there's going to be periods of the game or moments where you're up against it a little bit. You're not going to be dominating the game, every moment. And so in those difficult periods, you have to be willing as a group and then individually to roll your sleeves up and just kind of compete in those moments if you want to win, if you want to keep, in this case, if you want to keep the ball at the back of the net.
And this will be the 10th road game in 15 to start the season. I know Caleb talked a little bit about it midweek. How do you feel like the group has sort of handled what was a little bit of a gauntlet to start the season and grind through?
Yeah, I suppose we've handled it well. I mean, I think you just have to approach each game one at a time and take it for what it is. So yeah, when you look at it at the big picture, it's a big percentage of our games on the road, but ultimately we just want to approach each game the right way, have the right attitude, and be ready to compete, whether it's here or away from home, and we'll try to do that again this weekend.
And then just finally, it's a Montreal team that is still in search of their first home win. I know people just take a glance at the standings and kind of make assumptions, but what are you expecting from a Montreal team that are probably going to be pretty hungry to get that first win in front of the home fans?
Yeah, I mean, they're a good team. We're not really taking too much stock in where people are in the standings as we approach any game. So for us, it's about, like I said, arriving with the right attitude, the right mentality. Each and every game, we need to start the game well, knowing that it's difficult to win in this league, especially on the road, and it requires quality and then again the right attitude.